All right, Chaz, let's get right to it. There is no prize for not getting swept. I mean, the Reds were never going to celebrate that at the end of the season. They could have been swept back in April or May, gotten it over with, and still could have been at this point of the season, 15, 16 games over 500. Instead, they weren't swept until late August against the world champs at a time when we're all tracking the wild card chase. And so the Reds being swept for the first time this season does only one thing. It accentuates the fact that this road trip brought the Reds back down pretty close to the 500 mark at a time when the Mets are headed the other direction. So 28 games left. And what they tell us is in that 28 games that it's the most difficult schedule of any team left. How do you feel about Terry Francona's team a week after they started this road trip with a couple of wins in Anaheim against the Angels?
Well, we'll get to your dramatic tease, and that's always my favorite part of this show. But I'm going to drop a dramatic tease real quick here. This road trip changed what I think the Reds need to be for the last month of the season.
Changed what Chaz believes the Reds need to be for the last month of the season. That's better than anything I could come up with. But I'll show you what I came up with anyway. Welcome to Power Stacks, proud members of the Growler Podcast Network. Coming up on the show, it was a big swing and a miss in the series finale against the Dodgers. Can the Reds shake off what has been a season-long struggle in some regards? Also, we go around the horn. How can the Reds best plug some holes defensively and win some more games? And a Hollywood story for Chaz, as the Stars, not surprisingly, were out at Dodger Stadium. Chaz, I have questions for you. But first, in the leadoff spot, pitching and defense sounds great, except when pitching and defense takes a few nights off, as those two things did on this trip for the Reds. How do you want to start?
I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with right after the trade deadline, right after the Reds got Brian Hayes. There was someone in the organization who asked me what I thought about the trades. And I said, what I always respect and appreciate is a commitment to a vision and going all in on a specific style, a specific way to play. I said, that's something I'll always, again, respect. The Reds have been working towards this for years. Prioritize hit over power, prioritize defense, athleticism, that style of play that we've all talked about a million times. And then during the road trip, aside from, like a bad day from Andrew Abbott, I guess Zach Littell wasn't as sharp as he could have been, but the pitching was pretty solid. But over the last week, the defense just wasn't good enough for a team that's trying to win with pitching and defense. It's almost like half of their formula isn't where it needs to be. I think I go too far sometimes with these football analogies, but what it's like is trying to go all in on a running style when your running back is Breece Hall. Breece Hall's a good back, but Breece Hall's not Derrick Henry, who can carry you in a way that, or Saquon Barkley in a way that could carry you in a way that those teams that really are winning with that identity are. The Reds have shown that they're not built to win this year like the Brewers. Let's go around the horn really quick. I think they're great at first. I think they're great at third. Anyone who listens to this show knows how much of a believer I am in Matt McClain. But the way he's struggling with balls to his right, it's not concerning, but it's not the McClain that we're used to. You look at how Elly's errors have kind of snowballed over the last week. He's banged up, he's grinding, he's fighting, but he's not playing defense as well as he can right now. You look at how Austin Hayes' arm has had some misfires in left field. TJ Friedel's great. Noelvi Marte has had his growing pains. Gavin Lux has struggled in the outfield. The defense just isn't where it needs to be right now for a team that's trying to win with defense. Again, it's like trying to pound the rock 30 times a game with a running back who's a league average back. So I'm not in charge. I'd start chasing offense. And I have some ideas, things the Reds could do differently, because while I believe in the long run, this pitching and defense model, pitching and defense, the defense just isn't good enough right now to try to win that way.
I think I know where you're going with this. I agree with most of what you say. Defensively, again, for a team as the Reds are currently constructed, you have to have great defense behind the pitching that shows up most nights. And the Reds have had some issues, but we've heard Terry Francona refute what you just said and has said you can't afford to chase offense at the expense of your defense. If you believe he should change that way of thinking now, give me an idea where you'd start. And here's the part where I think I know where you're going.
Let me say one more thing too. Like the plays on Wednesday, like those 2 balls that landed in front of Marte, that ball that got by McLean in the 4th inning that opened up the game. Like those aren't the plays like the one Elly missed on Monday. Like those aren't the routine plays, but they're the types of plays the Brewers make. They're the types of plays that a pitching and defense team makes. They're just not built right now to be a pitching and defense team. Got a couple ideas. And you wouldn't do all these, but the main one is, and I've changed my mind on this over the last week. On Tuesday, really, I wrote it on Monday. I wrote that there's just not a place to play Sal Stewart right now because it would hurt your defense. But I've changed my mind on that. I call Sal Stewart up to be the DH. I play Gavin Lux a lot more at second and a bit more in left, even though that hurts your defense. And that would reduce some of the playing time for Matt McLean and Austin Hayes. That's the main thing I would chase. You'd be getting Stewart and Lux's bats in the lineup, and you'd be playing McLean and Hayes again a bit less. Some other ideas is just in general, without making a roster move, they could just start Gavin at second more. A big question is Andujar healthy enough to play? Not pinch hitting him yesterday was alarming in terms of how he's at physically, because there was a clear spot to use him. If he is healthy, I'd be much more aggressive using him when he's on the bench. I'd be much more aggressive using him as a DH in specific matchups as well. Maybe that's a day where you play Stewart at second. Not every day, but maybe Stewart could play second a few times between now and the end of the season. They could play Will Benson. Like, Will Benson still, I believe, leads this team in ex-WOBA. He hits the ball really hard. He could platoon with Austin Hayes, whose left-right splits are extreme. Heck, if they don't like Benson, they could give Hector Rodriguez a shot. They have better offensive choices and real offensive choices than what they're deploying. They're prioritizing defense. The defense isn't good enough. The big guys I point to are they're playing McLean for defense and they're playing Austin Hayes for defense. Maybe it's time to try something different. Not every day, but most days at some of those spots and shuffle things around.
Knowing the decision makers the way that you do, speaking with them when you do you get the sense that they will – do you get the sense that they'll look at this point in the season the same way some other people are and decide to make some of those changes, to not stick with the plan with a month to go on the schedule?
I mean, they've gone all in on a vision, but at some point the game kind of tells you what you need to know. And again, like my opinion, and again, I'm not the decision maker, but my opinion has changed on this over the last week. I'll say it again. On Monday, what I believe pretty strongly was there just wasn't a spot yet for Stewart, as much as I love Sal Stewart, or like, a Benson or playing Andujar more frequently. Like, I was still in the camp of prioritizing defense by playing Matt McLean every day, or almost every day at second base, and by playing Austin Hayes very regularly in left field. The Dodgers series was just so alarming from a defensive perspective because the defense just isn't there yet. So alarming from an offensive perspective as well, that this team just needs a spark. And they've made decisions before that are maybe slightly against what their book is because of what the game's telling them. Like, I don't know. This isn't a perfect example, but calling up Chase Burns, that wasn't the book. The plan wasn't to call up a kid with one AAA start. But things change. You see things. You see something from Chase, and all of a sudden, he's in your starting rotation. And I bet if you gave me some more time, I could think of some more examples. I got the sense heading into the week that they were still all in on this defense model for the short term for 2025. That's a part of the reason why I wrote that a Sal Stewart call-up wasn't imminent. And I wrote that they weren't going to call Sal up to play second base, which is the most frequent thing that I hear, from the fan base, or first base as well as an option. I still don't necessarily see that, but I think you could play Sal at DH, Lux at second and left field, move some pieces around. Maybe it's even Andujar a bit more at first base and move Steer around. Like, there are things they could do. Will they? we'll see how big of an impact this Dodgers series had on them and if it changes their mind. There's no way to know right now. I'm sure they're having a meeting today about what they're going to do tomorrow and going forward.
Well, I'm good with winning with pitching and defense, but at some point you got to score some runs, and this is a part of the conversation we've already started to have. And in the series,
real quick, at some point you got to play defense.
Right.
That's what I keep going back to.
Well, yeah, you do. And a lot of nights they do, but it didn't show up. A lot of things didn't show up in the last two series on this road trip. But the thing that's most frustrating, not as many people watching are going to remember that maybe an inexperienced right fielder in Noelvi Marte didn't get to a ball for Nick Lodolo that he should have. Sure, it stands out. But by the time you get late in the game and you've blown a few offensive opportunities, people remember that, man, this team is struggling right now to score, struggling to string together hits. Yes, they saw a very good Emmett Sheehan in the first game. You saw a Hall of Famer in the second game in Clayton Kershaw. And then lo and behold, of course, Shohei Ohtani, who had not been right for a while, got right against the Reds, went 5 for the first time this season, had a season-high 9 strikeouts, picked up his win. But through all that, the 3 games in Los Angeles, the Reds scored 4 runs in the 3 games. They were 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, 19 left on base, and that same number 19 showed up in the strikeout column in the final game on Wednesday night. Those are not numbers that, regardless of how well you pitch or play defense, you're not going to win most of those games, and the Reds lost all 3. Because of the season that Tyler Stephenson has had, which has been not up to the standard in some ways when he's played, that he's set for himself previously and how he's played, you can't turn to the Tyler Stephenson injury and put more on it than it really deserves. He's one of the best players on this team when he's on his game, when he's healthy, and doing those things. And at times this season, he's had the same struggle that a lot of other people had. But since he's been out, Jose Trevino's playing every day. You've got Will Banfield up. And so you continue to watch and hope that Tyler Stephenson can come back healthy and contribute. And who knows, maybe when he does, maybe that's the best part of his season. I think that's certainly the Reds' hope. So let's just get an update from Stephenson now through the last day in Los Angeles, where he is with the fractured thumb and how he feels kind of being along for the ride right now, watching what we just saw on the most recent road trip. Here's Steve-O on that.
It's been good. I got to start hitting, I think it was the first day we were here. Got on the field yesterday, got to hit some. I've just been doing some tee and front toss. So it feels good to be hitting again and no issues, and been able to get out on the field and do some catching stuff, and been able to start catching some of the foam baseballs, which has been good to still get some work in, but haven't had a chance to. I've played catch with a real baseball, which has been good. So, I mean, we're progressing in the right way, and I don't really know kind of what next or the timeline, but hopefully once we get back home, have the off day tomorrow, hit BP on Friday, and then hopefully can start maybe catching some real baseballs here soon.
Even though you and Tito both said it's largely a paint intolerance thing, you're still trying to give it a little bit of a break, right, and not just push it
like
right from the start.
Just talking with Sean and the trainers and stuff, it's the fine line of like, I mean, we've got a little over a month left and like want to get back and stuff, and it's that fine line of letting it heal, and one pitch can kind of still make it blow up and stuff. And I mean, we saw that in Anaheim, like it was feeling good, and tried to catch Lodolo's bullpen, and there was one pitch that just did not feel good at all. So it's just kind of that fine line, and still kind of giving it some time and to rest, but time is precious right now, and there's not too much time. So it's been feeling good ever since, like, been able to get out, like, got put on the IL and give it a week to heal, and then start doing some baseball stuff. So it's been feeling good. So it's positive for sure.
Positive. And last thing you mentioned, time is precious this point in the season. Mentally, how are you mentally and physically balancing your desire to get back and help?
It's tough. I mean, it's been unfortunate just starting the season on the IL and then now, and it's tough. It's something that you never go into a season hoping you have to experience, but just still staying ready, being able to work out, run, and like do everything that I can to still physically be ready and stuff. And it's tough just being on the bench and not be able to do anything really for the team and stuff. So it's been good to have been able to do stuff again, and then just hearing the re-encouragement from the doctor out in Arizona saying that it's not something that's going to take me out for the rest of the season. So that was a really positive note hearing that. So I was happy with that.
On the trip, he got fitted for the thumb guard, which he will wear on his glove hand, and hope that enables him to start catching. He doesn't wear it when he swings the bat. Still feels pretty good swinging the bat. But there's some concern in his voice about being able to get back and catch, with a month to go in the season. That's the Tyler Stephenson update before the Reds start the homestand at Great American Ballpark. Time now for Tito's take. And Charlie, you wrote this not long ago. And the question continues to come up. Does Elly De La Cruz need a day off? After you've played 140 games or 135 games, should he have a day off? Would that really even make a big difference at this point if he just got a day or a day or two? Terry Francona continues to be asked because the errors have popped up more routinely in De La Cruz and his game, because even though he strings together a hit or two in each of these series, he's striking out a lot. And those tend to be the symptoms sometimes, at least that we think of this guy just needs a break. Francona continues to say and give the same reasons that he's given before. If I see it and I feel like he needs it, I'm going to do it. But right now I don't feel that way. What do you see?
The day would have been Tuesday when Clayton Kershaw was on the mound, but that was Friedel's day, and it was already a bench that's light on right-handed options. I don't know that. Sure, yeah. Should Elly get an off day? There's a reason why every other player in baseball seemingly gets an off day. When you look at the off days on the schedule already, I don't know that giving Elly a day off fixes the lapses he's had defensively, or the mistakes he's had defensively recently, fixes the timing that's just a tick slow at the plate right now. I think the biggest reason for all that is he's just banged up in a way that one off day wouldn't solve.
Right.
It's complicated. It's hard to even have a definitive opinion on it, but yes, there's a reason why guys get off days, but I don't know that one off day fixes. It certainly doesn't fix the quad issue. It probably doesn't fix some of the underlying reasons why Elly's been struggling a bit more. The Reds just need more out of him. Elly's got to play better on both sides of the ball, and they kind of just need someone to drag them through the finish line, and he has the potential to do that. It's just going to be a big month for him to be able to deliver in that way.
Terry Francona and Elly De La Cruz don't talk in detail about the injury that he's dealt with, nor should they. They don't have to, but Francona continues to allude to the fact that this quad thing has been and maybe still is a big deal, admiring the fact that De La Cruz has even done what he's done to stay on the field and play the way that he has. I keep going back when someone from the out-of-town crew asked me about De La Cruz and his running or why he's not stealing or what's going on at the plate. I say, look, there's probably a bigger injury issue than most people are aware of, and he continues to play through it. As for the day off, I agree with you. Maybe there's not a great answer, but most of us always say, don't you just need a mental break sometimes? And I don't know if you really get that at this point in the season, even if you're not on the field every inning. Is he mentally tired? I don't know, but that would be the justification at this point, I think, that if you decide to give him a day off, you could say, I really just thought he needed a mental break.
It's kind of the exact same thing we've been talking about with Pagan and Santian. They're your guys, and you need to go with your guys because these are must-win games. But is there a lingering or a cumulative effect of counting on your guys that much? But still, are tired versions of Santian and Pagan better than your next best option in the seventh inning? Make the same case about Elly and the lineup ripple effect that there would be if you don't have even a limited Elly for just one day. So it's that time of year and there's no easy answer. And it's just, it's just got to be a step forward for Elly as a whole right now.
We're into Charlie's notebook now. And we had the update on the Stephenson injury. The other injury most recently is Graham Ashcraft to the injured list. Your main seventh inning guy, part of the 3-person back end of the bullpen plan that the Reds have had for a good chunk of the season. The good news, as always, Terry Francona said that after the MRI and talking to the trainers, they don't think it's a long-term thing. They think he'll be back as soon as he is eligible to be back and in the Reds bullpen. And thus comes the Nick Martinez talk again. And what a great thing it is to have Nick Martinez, who threw 100-something pitches against the Dodgers on Tuesday, actually threw pretty well, but probably for at least a couple of days, handful of days, will be back in the Reds bullpen. Not known how he'll be used, if he'll just flop with Graham Ashcraft and be the seventh inning guy or something else, but you have that option. So the bullpen right now gets Martinez back, and then as you have preached, and as Emilio Pagan told us recently, Connor Phillips and Zach Maxwell each have had a few appearances. Each have had an appearance or two in which they had to figure out how to work themselves out of a problem that they had created. Zach Maxwell, after no walks in his first appearance, had a couple the next time out. And you know what? He worked his way out of it. Those types of things and those appearances, growth for those young players, how much of a part of the puzzle they have to be the rest of the way is still the question that's in the air.
I want to start here, and this is just a hypothetical. I haven't even asked around about this. I don't know how they're feeling inside the building's a football term, but inside the building, inside the ballpark, you know what I mean. I wonder if Ashcraft wasn't hurt, and again, this is just purely speculative. Would it have been Littell who would have moved to the bullpen as opposed to Martinez? Because Martinez has been pitching so well as a starter. He's been pitching so well. He's helping the Reds win games. And starting pitching has been just so critical in terms of it's felt like if they get a strong start and they have momentum going into the final innings, that's kind of the key thing. Like this is a long time ago, but like in 21, a part of the reason why they ended up moving TJ Antone to the bullpen instead of the rotation was just because they felt like the bullpen needed the help more. And is the fact that the bullpen didn't have a seventh inning guy then without Ashcraft shaped the fact that the Reds wanted to make sure they gave the bullpen its best seventh inning guy possible in Martinez, as opposed to Littell, who would have been a long man had he been the guy who had moved out of the rotation. And Littell has bullpen experience as well. That versatility that he has was something the Reds discussed when they traded him. So the bullpen does need help. I wonder if Martinez will stay stretched out because the safe bet would still be that he makes another start for the Reds this year. In that case, would it be a 5th, 6th, 7th type thing or a 6th, 7th type thing on some nights? But then if you're keeping him stretched out, you need your 7th inning guy for the other nights. And I think Barlow has pitched well enough to be that guy for the Reds right now. But you're also still in a stretch where you want to get you don't want to throw Pagan and Santi in at quite the same pace that you were. That does open up a door. And I think there really is a real lane for Maxwell and Phillips to continue to move up this bullpen depth chart. I think there's been some trust earned with them. And they both had some walks. Their command hasn't been perfect. But they do truly have the upside to get any hitter in baseball out, which isn't something you could say about most of the Reds bullpen. So very fluid, very day-to-day, but the first moving piece there was Martinez.
Even though we already talked at length about defense, I think it merits circling back and singling out Noelvi Marte because he's been a part of that conversation long before this past road trip or this past series in Los Angeles with the move from third to right and then the start in center field to give TJ Friedel a day. To go all right-handed. I think the lineup was all right-handed with Friedel out against Kershaw on Tuesday. Terry Francona has leaned on, rightfully so, his staff for a lot of these things because when the right field move came up, he said, hey, Colin Cowgill came to me and said, I think he can do it. And then Colin Cowgill, after a few days, came and said, I think he's ready. And he's been in right field ever since. I talked to Colin Cowgill about center field and Noelvi Marte, and he continued to circle back to, as all of us would, the athleticism that allows him to play, multiple places, because he definitely has that. And he said as soon as they started working in right field, Marte told Cowgill, hey, I want to be over there eventually. And I talked to a lot of people about the differences in the two outfield spots, and certainly it's, the angle at which the ball travels or which way it tails based on a right-handed hitter and a left-handed hitter. You have more ground, obviously, to cover in center field. You have to take control of the outfield and be the quarterback in center field. All of those things are under consideration, but Cowgill and Francona are not. They never made any of these moves saying it was going to be perfect. He told me right away, he said, look, there are probably going to be some plays where he looks like someone who hasn't played center field or is inexperienced at center field. Saw some of that in the game the other night. We've seen some of that in right field. But long term, do you think this is where
that's the thing.
Noelvi Marte sticks? And this is taking us out of the conversation of the moment and taking us into a bigger conversation maybe for later.
I mean, this is the awkward part. Like, everyone loves TJ Friedl. TJ's 30. You look at the farm system, you're always looking at the farm system. Aside from maybe catcher, but center field's right there. Center field might be the weakest spot in the Reds farm system. How many guys are there in baseball who are athletic enough to play center field, who have real speed, and who are above average hitters? How many of those guys in baseball, center fielders who can hit like 5 to 10? And that's a part of what makes Friedl so valuable. There just aren't guys like that. Noelvi Marte truly has the ability, if he can play center. We just don't know from an instincts perspective how that'll catch up and develop over time. But if he has that, and he keeps hitting at this pace, that's already like a top 5 center fielder in baseball, which is something that the Reds behind Friedl don't have another avenue to find. When you look at the fact that those guys make like $200 million, and then you look at the fact that, I don't know, I guess Ethan O'Donnell or I guess Blake Dunn, who's having a nice year, shout out Blake Dunn, would be next in line from a prospect perspective on the step chart. Like, they don't have that option in the system. And if that's Marte, that significantly changes the long-term planning in the Reds outfield. So because of the tantalizing nature of that being incredibly valuable, I completely understood wanting to give Marte a shot at center. He wasn't ready yet. Maybe it's a spring training project for next year. But I think the seed has been planted, because if Noelvi can be this team's center fielder of the future, that's like, again, a $200 million player.
Right. And to your point, and I'm not making any comparisons or jumping the gun in any way, but when Colin Cowgill was talking about the prospect of Marte playing in center or the outfield, but specifically in center, he said, look, I worked with Julio Rodriguez coming up in Seattle. Some of the same athletic things about his game, and certainly he went back to Marte having played shortstop. He even drew things from his shortstop experience and the things that he learned and how he played there that would benefit him as an outfielder. So you never know. And you're right with the price tag that typically comes with someone who's already established in that position who can do some of those things. Something to consider. Also, something to consider, Chaz. After 9 games on the road, 9 games at Great American Ballpark, the schedule says the St. Louis Cardinals, who currently, as we record, they have a game today, but they're already back within, I think, 3 games of where the Reds are in the standings, thanks to the Reds having lost 6 of 7 to wrap up the trip. Starts with the Cardinals, the first place Blue Jays, and then the series that you have to circle, and you have to hope that it still means something with the Mets over the weekend, 3 games head-to-head. It's never over until it's over. Some of us may have thought that this road trip would define where the Reds are. Can we safely assume, though, that the next 6 games before the Mets get to town will determine what that series means, and certainly the homestand as a whole? Can this determine the Reds' fate at this point? Because there's not a lot of runway left after this homestand.
If the Reds are going to make the playoffs, the last month has to be their best month of the season. Limited margin for error. It has to be their best month since June of 2023. That's where they're at. That's what they're going to be talking about. Not the June of 2023 thing, but the fact that this is a team that's just going to have to go on a run now. And if they do, that'll be pretty magical. And if they don't, I think there's going to be a lot of frustration about how they got to that point, and kind of how the season wrapped up. And with limited games left, like go back to Graham Ashcraft, like he's going to miss the minimum time, but that's like half the season left. So everything gets magnified in that way. And, again, fun, interesting, notable time, a lot of pressure, a lot at stake, and some big decisions on tap for the Reds.
All right, I want to finish this way, and I'm really regretting at this point that I don't have the bell, that I haven't unpacked yet, and I don't have the bell, because the bell would be so perfect for this segment. Over the series in Los Angeles, it had been a while since I'd been to Dodger Stadium, but you see if you watch games on TV, they have obviously celebrities show up to Dodgers games all the time. They end up on the big board. I think it's become kind of commonplace for the Dodgers folks and the people who are there. But I made a little bit of a list of some of the people that were in Dodger Stadium for the series while the Reds were there, because one in particular, I was talking to someone, I think it was someone that's a member of the Stacks Pack that came to talk a little bit. And when we saw this person, we had a little quick conversation about whether or not Charlie Goldsmith would know that person. So I made a short list, and I'm just going to give you a quick quiz, and I'll be very transparent with my familiarity with some, and we'll go from there. First game for the Reds at Dodger Stadium on Monday of that series. We're doing the pregame show on the field, and it's like the Beatles are there. For about 45 minutes, every 90 seconds, girls scream and yell, and there's this roar from a crowd that showed up way early.
I know who Sam LeCure is.
Oh, what a compliment to my partner. I will share that. All this is going on. He did try to take credit for it. All this is going on, and I had not seen who was doing the first pitch or what was going on. I just knew there were a lot of people there early, and they were squealing to their little heart's content. Turns out the first pitch is from a young man who's known as V, the letter V. Does that ring a bell with you?
I know that one of the guys from, I believe, BTS, correct?
Oh, if I had the bell,
Yeah.
I'd be ringing it right now.
You got Dynamite. You got, like, I know a lot of their songs. I understand the concept of them as well. Like, they're not music I seek out, but they're on the radio. They're at, they're out and about. I know them. I think they do a good job. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of them. I don't seek out their music. But when it comes on, it's like, they have upbeat bops, which is an under-tapped lane in the current music market. So good on them.
Full disclosure, I had no idea. The Fee from BTS threw the first pitch and actually did a very nice job. Now I know. All right, Chaz. Jason Bateman. Does that ring a bell for you?
Jason Bateman, yes. I know the movie. I can see it in my head. It's the movie We're the Millers. Now, that might be a very dumb pull for Jason Bateman, who's done much more prominent things. But that's the first one that comes to mind for me with Jason Bateman.
Child TV actor. You might go all the way back to Little House on the Prairie or Silver Spoons. He's in my demographic. Now, actor, director, Ozark.
Ozark, yes.
All right. Flea.
Yeah, he's a very famous musician. Not the
You're
Rolling
doing
Stone.
So great.
Is it the Rolling Stone? No. But it's somewhere in that generation. Sting, but I think Sting's something else.
You're kind of about 20 years off, but I'm going to give you a lot of credit for this. He's the bassist for the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. So he's there. Both these guys
Hotel
are on the
California.
Big board. No, that's the Eagles. That's okay. We're low on time, so I'm going to keep running through the list, but I want to compliment you. You're doing a heck of a job. Nick Lachey.
Cincinnati's celebrity. Yeah.
Yeah, Cincinnati's guy, original band member for 98 Degrees. He was there as well. Huge Reds fan. It's good to see him, and I think his son was with him that game. So he's way up there in the Cincinnati sports celebrity pantheon. And then finally, this is my favorite here at the end. And I'll be honest with you. If you had given me the name, I don't get it. Efrain Ramirez. Okay. If I said part of the cast of Napoleon Dynamite.
I haven't seen Napoleon Dynamite. I know it's an iconic comedy, but I haven't seen it. I know it's an unbelievable movie. I'm Googling this guy right now. The face doesn't ring a bell. The face doesn't ring a bell for me.
We got to go, so I'm going to finish up strong here. I'm sitting there getting ready for the pregame show, and I think this person thought that we were a bigger deal than we are, because we're certainly not a big deal. I think he saw TV and thought maybe we were a national broadcast or something. Comes over and says, "Hey, guys, how are you guys doing? I'm Efrain Ramirez." And I kind of looked at him, and I cocked my head a little bit, and he goes, "I hope you voted for me." And I went, now I got it. It's Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite.
I don't like that. He shouldn't be dropping his own reference.
I think he had to, man. I think he had to. Anyway, we got a quick pick. I'll send it to producer Kent. Maybe we can work it in the YouTube feed. But this was a big, huge deal for my family that Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite and my family was pretty fired up about that, because it is a movie you have to see, Chaz.
I know.
And you're either gonna like it, or you're gonna find it, you're gonna wonder why people told you to watch it. One of those two reactions. So we'll have to check back with you on that. Anyway, good show. Huge series for the Reds coming up at Great American Ballpark. Check back with Power Stacks for all the latest hot takes from Chaz and a little celebrity quiz mixed in from Dodger Stadium. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.